This title comes from the importance of teachers' education. I said, can you stop the voice here? Can you stop the voice here? So, yeah. Okay. Yes. Can you hear me؟ لا أنا ما بيطلع صدى. I'll say yes.
They can hear you, right?
Yeah. But there is echo.
It's not really the
Okay, I will stop this now. Just to mute this.
Can you hear us now?
But I'll get equal.
It's okay. Better than that.
We make note. Hi everyone, can you hear us now? All right. So hello again. This is Alshammari, and the title of this presentation is "What is Beyond the English Degree Matters." And in fact, this title comes from the importance of teachers' education. And as the most of us think that once we graduate with from the Faculty of Art or Faculty of Education, so we're really ready to have our classes successful and to excel well in the teaching process. However, this is not the case all the time, unfortunately. Once we start our classes, we find ourselves sometimes stuck with the type of exercises or how to deal with the students that we really don't have experience to deal with. Some students are okay, easygoing, they love to learn, but some of them, they really need more work to get them understanding the ideas and the class aspects and so on. So that is the main point of the title of this presentation. In fact, this presentation is based on the knowledge, experience, courses, conferences, journals, that what I've got throughout my experience. We're starting with some definitions of teachers' education. Then we'll move on to the importance of teacher education and to give you some ways that we can develop teacher education. After that, I can give you some strategies to use within our EFL classrooms, for example, to be culturally responsive, to emphasize productive language, to create good lead-ins, to use CCQs, to use ICQs, to use open-ended questions, and to implement finger pointing, to incorporate learning activities. And the last 2 points will be to use students' errors and to get students to think aloud. So what is teacher education? There are many definitions for teacher education. So, and they almost have the same idea of having a specific type of learning for teachers. So for example, it's a formal training provided for would-be teacher in an institution of higher learning to equip the teachers with the necessary skills, knowledge, and experiences, and to bring them all together to the changes in the behavior of learners and to enable would-be teachers to succeed in their teaching careers. So now we can understand would-be teachers, people. So those are a group of people that they need a specific type of knowledge, experience, so they can be teacher. They not can be would-be teachers anymore. Another definition, teacher education is a formal curriculum that equips teachers with knowledge, attitudes, behaviors, skills, experience, and needed to successfully teach in a classroom. So we almost have the same idea here. We need some specific skills, experience, so we excel in our classrooms. Teacher education can be a process of certifying and training teachers for knowledge, behavior, skills they require to be effective teacher in the classroom. So here we have to be effective, not only to teach inside the classroom, we need to affect on students' understanding, skills, behavior, attitude, and so on. One more interesting definitions of the teacher education, it is a program of a training designed to equip prospective and practicing teachers with the knowledge, skills, and disposition they would require to be effectively teaching from elementary to higher education level. So teacher education is a different type of what we had at the university when we studied semantics, syntax, and literature, novels, stories, and so on. It's a very specified term of teaching. So what is the importance of teacher education? So I've summarized that to be within the most 3 points. First one, it affects students' learning. So it is obvious that good teachers are better at teaching students effectively. If you are a good teacher, you can teach your students with love, with passion, and you can affect on their understanding You can let them to love your course, to register with you all the time, and to keep talking about you even outside the classroom. You affect on their life, even if they're outside the classroom. How would I behave with my family? How would I behave with my, if I would like to have a meal order or wherever they go? They use the classroom behaviors outside their classroom. Another importance point of teacher education is that it encourages the success of new teachers. We might be old teachers, we might be new teachers. However, we can always affect new ones that to join us, to join our school, our department, like what I did with the two amazing ladies here, Miss Noor and Miss Sughair, regarding once I joined them, they helped me with everything I need regarding the course material, the syllabi, and so on. So, because unfortunately, according to one study, almost 1/3 of teachers leave the profession within 5 years of working because they didn't find the good help, the proper experience from their old colleagues. One last important point for teacher education is to promote a growth mindset. Teacher professional development encourages teachers to be active participants in their own learning and to ensure that the students and teachers are alike too eager to learn. So we both need to learn inside the classroom. I need to learn about my students as well as they need to learn their course and so on. So sometimes we find ourselves, can I just slide it? Sometimes we find ourselves in a problem with finding teacher education. Okay, so I'm done with my bachelor degree now, or with my master's degree now. How can I start my self-education? How can I have better teaching methods and so on? I can join a course like CELTA, for example. Actually, it is a very informative course that can help you with a lot of new techniques when it comes into time management, lesson planning, class designing, activity creating, getting to know your students better, how to deal with different types of students from different culture backgrounds, and so on. Another way to find another teacher education is to read journals. Make sure that you read the up-to-date journals regarding your field of education. For example, if you're teaching an ESP course in a college of science, a college of medicine, you need to be updated with their terminologies, for example, with their techniques, with their technology use of their major, and so on. Another one, like what we're doing right now, to attend conferences. Alhamdulillah, right now we have a lot of choices and options of conferences, especially with the advantage we have online conferences or face-to-face conferences. And most of the conferences now are in hybrid format. So we can all attend conferences like at least 1 or twice a year to see what's going on our field of career and what are the new challenges we have, what are the best solutions we can have, and so on. One interesting education we can have, it is teachers' observation. If you attend one of your colleagues' class and take notes about their techniques, their use of language, their attitudes toward the students, their behaviors with the different situations that inside the classroom. After that, you can have just a small meeting to discuss them. This way, you share experience together. You give tips, advice to each other. Then you can come out with a very nice output that can be beneficial for both of you. So here we go. Now I'm sure that everyone believes in the importance of teacher education after learning their definitions, their ways, how to get them. So now I would like to share with you some of the strategies that I learned myself, and I always tell my colleagues, my friends, family members, and whoever how to be a good teacher, whatever when it comes into the use of teaching format, teaching method, and so on. So the first one here, which is very important to me and for everyone else on earth, I guess, to be culturally responsive. So this is very important when it comes into teaching. You need to connect your students' culture, language, life experience with what they have in their school. For example, you can share with them one form of page that has that asks them to answer many questions like their name, their age, their job, where they're from, their native language, other languages they have other than English, and time spent learning English, why they would like to learn English, what is the easy about English, what's difficult about English, and to respond back to their answers here by giving them personalized activities, response, prompt, answers, wherever. So for example, if you have a student that whose age like 38 or 39, we should deal with them differently than what we do with the student of 18 or 19 years old. Those very fresh, they're like, they're done with their career. Some of them, they just want to learn English to have our spoken language, not the academic one, and the vice versa, and so on. Some students are really find it difficult to speak English in front of public people. They don't like to have presentations, for example. We need to take that into our consideration and to think how to solve this obstacle with this number of students. Then another strategy is to emphasize on productive language. Receptive language is sometimes boring with the student. They don't like to read, they don't like to listen. However, they love the opposite. They love to write or to speak even more. So emphasizing productive language for EFL classroom involve producing a language like speaking or writing. So we can use this type of exercises. We can always start with, what do you think exercises? So for example, if you give them a group of photos that they speak about the future. So what do you think? Do you think this will happen like what we have here, a smart shopping mirror, or a supersonic aircraft, or to live on another planet, or a robot teacher, or even a gel type phone? So then you give them a question like, do you think this might happen? Which one might happen? Or which do you believe will happen and why? So you give them a space to answer. I think that teachers will be replaced with robots. Oh my God, why you're thinking that? Because AI is very progressing now, and they're doing a lot of things with technology and so on. We have a lot of robots in the world, and so they can negotiate regarding this matter. They try to convince you with their idea. You can complete the class with giving them more personalized questions like, what do you think will happen to your country by 2060? 2060 by when it comes into your economy, army, or food? Then you can give them another question. Do you think we will live in houses? What kind of houses we can have in the future? Is it like capsules? Are we going back to live on trees, for example, or what's going on? Then, and this type of what do you think questions, you know, they're always welcome by a student to speak about and to answer. Another type of strategy is Leadin. Leadin is a technique that is used by teachers at the beginning of their classes to prepare students to learn and establish communicative link between learners and information about something that will be presented inside the classroom. So it's at the very beginning of the class. So, for example, if we have a unit in the book that speaks about pets, for example, we would have a slide says man's best friend. Then you would ask them, what do you think we're going to talk about today? Are we going to talk about technology? Are we going to talk about food? Or are we going to talk about animals? So they would say animals, of course. Then you can ask them, do you have a pet? Not. What type of pet you have? Why you have it, and so on. Another example of having good lead-ins, let's speak about now. Here, if you'd like to speak about the present continuous. So then you can do something action, you can drink water, for example, or you can write on the board, then you ask them what I'm doing. Then they would say, you write, then am I right or am I writing? So you're writing, you're drinking, then you can use finger modeling to tell them that am is are plus the verb plus the ing and so on. So now they understand it is a present continuous when we would like to speak about now. Another technique for a successful EFL classroom is to use CCQs, concept checking questions. So CCQs refer to questions are asked by teachers to gain a more accurate evaluation of the student's understanding. So we sometimes give our students this type of exercise to match the words with their photos, for example. We need to check on their understanding. Did they understand the word itself or not? So for example, the word racing. Okay, I'm sure that they would match it with the photo C, right? But then you need to ask them questions like, should you finish quickly to win if you are racing someone? They would say yes. Then can you race alone? No. So this type of a question can give your student more understanding of the term or a vocabulary or a phrase. For example, having kittens. I'm sure everyone will match it with the photo A. But if you ask them, is it only for cats to have kittens? They would say yes, because they're kittens. Then can ladies give a birth of kittens? No. But can any type of animals give a birth of kittens? They should say no, because kittens are only related to cats, and that's it. Another type of strategy we can use in our classes is the ICQs, instruction checking questions. It's quite similar to what we had in CCQs, but this about instructions to tell your students to ask your student if they understand how to answer the question or not. So they are questions to check sorry, whether their student to grasp what they are expected to do in certain activity or task. For example, if you tell your student now, I play the audio, you will listen and you have to write your answers on your notebook. You ICQ them by saying, will you answer the questions now? No, they have to listen to the audio first, and they would say no. Will you write your answers on your notebook? Yes. Another example, now you will work in groups for 3 minutes, so you can check your answers with your partner. You need to make sure that they understand what to do now. So will you work alone? No, we're working together, we're in groups. Then how long do you have? 3 minutes. So you're checking on their understanding of the instruction, not the question itself. So another strategy we can implement within our EFL classes is to use open-ended questions that will elicit more complex and longer answers, where you give your student a space to write or to speak or to use their language in its best way. For example, if we can divide the class into small groups and every group has a group A, subgroup A and subgroup B, then you ask them, student A can ask student B, like, what is your favorite messaging app and why? Then student B can use this prompt or where to answer. For example, my favorite app is the WhatsApp. Why? Because it's easy. And I can send voice notes and or whatever. So what are its features? Can you send files? Do you use it every day with whom? Then the vice versa. Then the group B should ask group A, like, what's your favorite calling app or whatever. Then group A can use also a number of vocabulary that can help them to answer the questions better. This type of a question is open-ended question where there is no limit for the answer. Finger modeling. So I really love this type of explanation inside the classroom, as well as it is convenient, economical, it's always available, flexible. I'm sure it's everyone has like 10 fingers, and it's a technique well worth mastering. So, and it's very important because it reduces the TTT, the teacher talking time. We shouldn't talk a lot inside the classroom, especially a language classroom. So finger modeling can help us a lot to reduce our TTT. For example, like you just stretch out your hand this way and you tell your student to give you a sentence, like supposedly to be their answer. If the student say, he is a student, University Kuwait, he is, then there is a mistake here. You would just use your facial expressions or rising up your eyebrows or so on, and pointing on the finger with the problem again. Then if you would like student to shift words like University Kuwait, then you can use just to twinkle with your, sorry, with your fingers and so on. So this technique can help you a lot to give your student explanation about their mistake without embarrassing them. And it's in front of everyone else in the classroom. So another example or another strategy we can use in our EFL classes is the corporate learning activities. It helps students to learn academic material and social skills. Understanding more about cooperative learning can help instructors create a positive social experience in EFL classroom. Number one advantage with this type of exercises is to let students to know how to make friends inside the classroom. Sometimes I give this my student like a group project or a group presentation. They say, I really don't know what to who to work with. I have no friends inside the classroom, and they don't have this culture like to make friends within the classroom. Like it shouldn't be like a friend outside the classroom, but at least you have someone that you're really good with inside the classroom and you always work together. So a good example of implementing corporate learning activities is to give your student discussion questions after giving them a long exercise. Like, for example, compare Jakarta to another city you know well. How is it similar or different? For example, we have a video or a reading passage about Jakarta or another capital city. Then they have to compare it with their countries or their cities or where they live, especially if the class is from different nationalities. That would be very nice. Imagine you're making a video about a capital city for tutorial for tourists. What information and the places you would include. So both of them can work together. Then you can discuss part with them. You can let them raise their hand and to share their information inside the classroom. You can use like to give a city for every group of them, and they can just share. After that, we can have about 15 cities to enjoy their information together. Students' errors, yeah. This strategy is really nice, and it helps us to get to start where students stop. For example, they can correct themselves when they realize that they made a mistake. Sometimes their mistake is simply a slip, and they are aware of the correct version. We need to give our students a chance and the time to correct themselves. I always prefer to go around students when they work together or when they work alone even, and to take notes about their mistakes, whether spoken language or written language. And once we're done with the main exercise, I just write them quickly on the board and to ask them to correct each other. Like, what is the problem with he is go to school? Like, then I'm sure someone will raise their hand and will say, he's going to school. Then, okay, the student who did the mistake, he knows this is the correct version of it, and that won't be a problem. Like environment, what's the problem with environment here? Yeah, it misses the I letter. And so where shark, big than tiger shark? No, it's bigger than. This is a comparative format and so on. So it's always nice to share their mistakes within themselves and to be corrected within the class itself. Get students to think aloud. This is a very effective technique to model how you use comprehension strategies before, during, and after reading. When we have a reading or a video, we can start with an exercise. For example, if we have a simplified version of the famous love story of Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, let's say. So we can ask them, what do you think we're going to learn about today between Romeo and Juliet? Is it about technology story or it's a love story? Everyone say love story. What do you think about them? Where are they from? How old are they? Did they get married or not? Then you just start, this is the lead-in once we go back to one of the strategies. Then you give them the first part of the story. Then you ask them a question, Romeo and Juliet fell in love with each other. What is the problem with that? They would know from the first part, the very first part of the story. This is a simplified version of it. Then within, because we said to get students to think aloud, we need before, during, and after. So during the activity or during the reading, they can maintain exercise number 2, like what couldn't Juliet tell her father? Or which part of the plan worked, or what went wrong with the plan, and so on. So they can answer the questions one by one as well at the same time of their reading. After that, you can give them 2 open-ended questions once we go back to the open-ended strategy. Do you feel sorry for Romeo and Juliet? Here, cultures answers like, no, I don't feel sorry for them. Oh, why? No, I really feel sorry for them. Why? What happened? What do you think? Then another question, what could be done to stop the sad end? What would they do better to stop this dramatic end? And as it was very sad to have this love story ended this way, and so on. So I really love this type of questions when it comes into before, during, and after the reading passage or the video itself. So here we come to the end of the presentation. Hopefully guys, you've enjoyed it, and my apologies for the technical problems at the beginning of it. And you're welcome if you'd like to ask any questions. These are references.
Right. I have a question, actually, Mr. Faris. I can see a great influence of Celta from Cambridge on your presentation. Cambridge is also the main sponsor of TESOL Kuwait Conference 2023. Can you please tell us from your experience, how did it improve your teaching after?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, what I've said in this presentation, to use some techniques, like for example, I used to have problems with the Leadin. How would I link students' backgrounds and cultures with what we have inside the classroom? For example, if we have a unit that speaks about global warming, let's say, and we are in Kuwait, and we have this vision about Kuwait 2035, the new Kuwait. We have one of the targets to have sustainability and to defend regarding global warming and so on. So I would always have a good lead-ins, for example, or to use CCQs, ICQs, to have better time management for the class activities and exercises. I can't get the questions here.
Would anyone like to ask any questions to ask Mr. Faris any questions about his presentation?
Have any questions, guys? Any of the points here? All right, then. Thank you so much.
Thank you for attending. Thank you, Mr. Faris.
Small sign of appreciation from TESOL
Oh,
Kuwait.
thank you so much. Thank you. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to get me sleep if you can. Very fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. So it's
Yes, so we'll have another Zoom sessions for the ones who are watching us from home. Feel free to join at just a moment. We have a break after this, and at 12:45 we have Professor Hisham Al-Sakbini with learning-oriented assessment application in the classroom. which sounds really interesting. So I'll see you at 12:45. Thank you for attending. Goodbye.